This isn't like a normal intro. I just gotta say, like, that intro music is the best. Anyways, welcome back to Beyond the Borderline with your hosts Connor, Cam, Ryan, and Phil.
When the beat drops, it
Yeah,
goes
it is
straight to
pretty
your
good.
That's right.
it goes
That's
straight to your
right.
soul.
Although I
That's-
really do like our outro music too.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
nice and
just-
funky.
Both are
They
both
just-
are nice.
They just hit like.
Oh boy.
It's nothing like the Dune music though.
Don't quit your day job there, boss.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Oh boy.
that's some good
Or
shit.
the
Okay,
throat singing.
yeah, let's have some throat singing as our intro.
Oh, I would love that.
No. Maybe we'll think about it. Okay, so we'll let Phil finish off his thought. Phil didn't get to speak much last episode, so he had one thought to kind of complete at the beginning of this episode in relation to democracy and politics and whatnot, and then we will switch over to the actual topic of today's episode, which I will reveal after Phil's spiel. So, Phil.
All right. Thank you for that, Cameron. I basically wanted to just quickly tie it back
You're
to
welcome.
something interesting. Thank you. That I thought that Cameron mentioned about how the liberals and those who seem to fit under that umbrella may think that they're kind of like the natural leader. They're supposedly virtuous. They take the onus on themselves that they speak for the less fortunate, and to some degree that is true. I also think that kind of an analogy can be made on the conservative side of things, that being a conservative is kind of like a guilty pleasure. So in small doses you can have reality, such as just what is life. That's kind of like the whole point of this podcast, is to understand why we think the way we think, and really dive deep into what are our motivations, what do we truly believe in, what do we value. I think that being a conservative wholeheartedly, that we just believe that the government needs to be smaller. We need to have individual rights over the collective. And I just think that it's a great analogy. Although there are some great
What do you
points
mean
that
by
can
guilty
come.
pleasure?
What's that?
What do you mean by guilty pleasure?
Meaning that a guilty pleasure is something that you enjoy having. It feels good,
But you're gonna be
But-
judged for liking it.
but you're going to be judged for liking it. And so you kind of have this idea of holding these ideals but not being able to express them, especially in this social landscape. It's not necessarily attractive, not in its literal sense, to be conservative. You may even feel that your voice is not being taken seriously. And especially with this popular vote and who actually holds public office, I think that's kind of like why is there such a divide? Like, why isn't it that every single time the person who has the majority of the seats, why is that different than the popular vote? I just thought that was interesting. And I will send it back to Cameron, who is gonna start us up.
Cool. Yeah. But it is good that we have like a relatively even split, I guess you could say, between right and left, because
Mhm.
one side it's like tug of war, but both sides are pulling equally, so everything stays right where it should be.
Yeah, I've always
more or
said it.
less.
I've always said you never should be, like fully on one side of the spectrum. I think that's unwise. I think it's wise to consider, all facets of thought, and, kind of find a healthy balance where you can sit on one side of the spectrum, but not completely so.
If you wish to become a complete and wise leader, you must embrace a larger view of the
Yep.
Force. Speaking of
Essentially,
Star Wars
we-
Day, so
we-
hello.
I know,
Essentially, we
yeah.
all believe that we cannot stifle having meaningful conversation.
Yes,
Yeah.
that has happened a lot now. Like,
It is
why can't we just have
conducive to a functioning society.
I'm gonna
and
mention this.
anything that seeks to minimize that freedom is going against democracy.
What happened
Yeah,
to the
definitely.
exchange of ideas? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I miss the days, or I guess, I mean, we're still pretty young, so we didn't really experience this so much in our more intellectual capacity. But people that are millennials and older people from higher older generations speak of the days when they could have open conversations with people they openly disagreed with, but it wouldn't result in a screaming match.
Mhm.
That's just not the
Yeah.
case.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good points, everyone. So let's take it to the purpose of this episode, which is basically a while back. I think it's episode 9, burnt toast and pet direwolves. But don't quote me on that. It might be another episode. I think it's 9 though. Or no, 11, 12, 11. It's 11 or 12. Sorry. But anyway, that was just an episode where we kind of were shooting the shit a little bit, asking each other random questions, and then like a Q&A sesh, just to show a bit of ourselves and whatnot. So I think we're going to do something similar this episode, but I have a list of 200 philosophical questions here from conversationstarters.com. So I'm going to pick a couple of them, and we don't have a ton of time, so we won't be able to get hyper philosophical, but let's just see what everyone's thoughts are. So there's a ton of questions here. I think this one, it's hard to really top this one, and that is, where do you find meaning in your life?
Oh
that
boy.
could be currently, or what you're striving towards, however you choose to interpret that.
We've touched on that a little bit before. It's a really interesting, it's the largest, I think it's one of the largest questions anyone can ask of themselves.
Yeah. So I think let's keep it short. Let's not dive too deep, even though these are super deep. And we'll come back to this list in a more in-depth fashion for sure. Like each one of these questions could be an episode of its own. But let's do a rapid fire for each of these questions. So where do you find meaning in your life? Phil, go.
I find meaning in, or I find comfort in making other people feel happy.
Lame. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, that's very virtuous of you. Okay,
It
sick.
is fulfilling.
Yeah. Okay, Connor.
I mean, what I do is I like to set goals or objectives and then reach them. That's how I find meaning. But then on a daily basis, similar to Phil, is like I want to see people laugh and be happy. So that's another thing, is like if I can because like obviously your goal, you can't hit your goal, like long-term goals in one day. It takes time, so work towards that, and then on a daily basis make somebody laugh, smile, whatever, just like leave an interaction with me and they're happier off and they're having a better day than when I first ran into them, sort of thing.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Rianne.
For me, it's kind of similar to what Phil and Connor have talked about. For me, it's about making sure that the most important people in my life live a happy and prosperous life, whether that means it's me helping them or they're helping me. And a lot of that looks like, building up my family legacy. And I don't consider family just to be blood. I consider family to be, my closest friends. So yeah, getting up every day and making sure that what I'm doing is not only helping my family and myself, but it is also helping out my larger family, which is my friends and so on.
Nice. Yeah, I would say basically like along the lines of what you guys are saying. Definitely like the setting goals and hitting them thing, like, because I'm super hard on myself and very like perfectionist. So if I don't hit the goals that I set, like it's a huge like catastrophe. So I definitely find meaning in actually like achieving what I want to achieve. But Ryan said the right word, which is legacy. And something I've come to realize like only very, very recently is like, I don't necessarily need to have, my name in books and a statue of me in the town square, like maybe I dreamed of as a kid. But I just want people to look back and say, I enjoyed having him in my life.
Exactly. Yes.
And he he was kind to people, he did well to people, and he raised his children right. He raised them to be good people as well. I think that's basically the bottom line, you know.
I think for some people, I don't want to speak for everyone, but those that need that, strive to have a legacy where they're known amongst the masses and they have their name on the wall and they have a statue of them. I think a lot of people, their meaning in life is purely based in vanity.
Yeah,
I don't think that's sustainable for a happy life.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was also
Definitely.
going to say about like goal setting and stuff like that. That also helps with growth, right? Like when you're able to say, like, whether professionally, socially, whatever your goal is, like I want to hit this, I want to be better at that. It helps you grow as a person as well. And I think also helping others and figuring out like how to make people happier is another way of growing as well. So
Yeah, be
but
more empathetic. Definitely,
yeah.
it's a sign of maturity. Okay. I'm gonna twist this question a little bit. It talks about what do you attribute your largest failures to, but I'm gonna say, and without getting, you don't have to give away everything, but name like one or a series of like really huge failures in your life, and how did that help you grow, or what did that teach you? Something monumental that you can say, wow, that really taught me something. So whoever wants to go first can go.
For me, it was my first year of university.
Yeah.
I've talked about this before in the podcast, but my first year of university, I was bad in a mentally, I was going through some mental illness stuff, and I'm not using that as an excuse. However, I did really poorly in my first year of university. I think I had like a D+ C- average.
Mhm.
And it was definitely due to my mental illness, but it was also due to, being lazy and not having any personal responsibility. Cause I just came out of high school. No one is forcing you to go to university. There's no, like, it's not the same. You know what I mean? You have so much more freedom in a lot for lack of a better word. And I kind of abused that a little bit too much, and I didn't go to class as much as I should have. I wasn't very diligent with my studies, and I paid for it. Like I still haven't graduated now, and I know if I had worked as hard as I am now on my first year of university, I would have graduated by now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Connor, Phil, expose your dark failures.
All right, I can go.
How much time do you
Oh boy, yeah. Roll the tape. So kind of for the majority of my life, I guess you could classify me as very timid.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the specific instance, but I basically said to myself, well, if I don't go outside of my comfort zone, if I don't try to kind of break the molds, I'm never going to get out of the cycle of kind of this like negative feedback loop of like just getting to a certain point but never breaking out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
X amount of years later, I'm talking to people that I don't know for fun. So it's like I think I've made like a full 180 in that sense. And I can just contribute that to saying I've had enough. Why am I living like this? I gotta do something about it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's only served me well.
Fear is the mind killer.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I was just saying, like, how much
There's
time
your
do you
Dune
have?
reference, by the way. Boom.
Boom.
I was just gonna say, like, how much time do you have? Because I think, I definitely had a lot of failures in life, but I think the biggest thing is just being able to pick yourself up, say, yeah, this is what I messed up on, this is what was wrong. And if I'm ever in a situation similar to this is what I'm gonna do instead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think one of the biggest, I don't attribute it as a failure, but like out of high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm gonna take a year off. And my parents were like, no, go to school for something. So I did, but it wasn't really like, it was something that I liked as a hobby, but I wasn't like, this is gonna be my career. I did it. I met a lot of really good people. I have some lifelong friends from it, but what a year off, if I just said screw that, I'm just gonna go take a year off and come back and do something else, maybe that would be different. I don't really know. But yeah, I think life is just making mistakes and growing and and recognizing those mistakes. Like if anyone thinks that they're perfect and they've never had a failure or they've never made a mistake before, then like that's just ignorance and that's small of you.
Oh, yeah.
I think life is just about making mistakes and saying, you know what, go back, go study the game tapes, come back stronger, like figure out where you went wrong and grow from it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, there's so much fear about making mistakes, right? Like I have such a fear of failure,
Mhm.
but a lot of that fear that you're experiencing in your mind from my own experience, it's you make it worse than it actually is. Like if you actually do fail, 9 times out of 10, it's not nearly as bad as what you imagined in your mind.
Yeah, my prof said one of the best things, and this was like, you know, he said it in a business sense, but you can really take it as like a life thing too. Is like, you know, his business thing was like, go, like, you guys are young, go get jobs and be bold and make mistakes with the job. So you can always find another job, and
Mhm.
those mistakes that you make, you're gonna learn from. And if one day you want to open your own company or do your own thing, after making those mistakes when you're young and figuring out your errors, you can use that and have better business sense. And I think you can translate that into any point of life, is like, be bold, do something outside of your norm, out of your comfort zone. And you know, you make mistakes, sure, but just be like, okay, next time I do this, how am I gonna improve and how am I gonna do better?
Mhm. For
Yeah.
sure.
I'll just go quick. But it's similar to what Ryan said, and it was basically like, yeah, out of high school, like I don't know, there was a period, well, 3 years, I guess you could call it period, of just complete neglect for my academics, um, my relationships with certain people, friends and family, um, my, goals in life. Oh, I didn't have any. And my health as well. Complete neglect in all areas, complete lack of taking responsibility. Um, and yeah, it backfired big time, especially in the health department. Um, but yeah, ever since then, it's been like a 180 turnaround. And it was really important for me to hit rock bottom, so to speak, to realize that life is short and also magnificent. And there's just no time to waste with being a loser, like there's only a certain amount of time, and there's things I want to do, and I want to make the people around me proud, and I want to um, have good relationships with people, and that takes time and it takes effort. And yeah, I don't know, it's just learning responsibility was a really hard, rude awakening for me over the last, well, since high school, um but it's been worthwhile, I think, and I don't regret much. I do regret some things, but um okay, let's go on to this. This is an interesting one. This is very self-reflective. I don't know if I can even answer this. What do you contribute back to society, aside from the cynical answer of taxes? Fuck you. What do you contribute back to society? Interesting question.
I think you can answer that question, Cam. Like for instance, right now, me and Cam are volunteering on Pierre Poilievre's campaign. He's running to lead the Conservative Party of Canada, and me and Cam are volunteering. In the truest sense of the word, volunteering, not getting paid to do that work. And I like to think that even if the smallest impact that I have doing so is still an impact in some way in helping society, like.
Mm-hmm.
We keep preaching that Canadians need to be more civically involved. They need to be more engaged. Well, I'm trying to practice what I preach, and I'm trying to be more civically engaged and trying to help my country head towards a path that is a little bit brighter.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Depending on what you believe, you might call us a villain or a hero, but anyway.
Sure. But at least I think I'm acting in the best intentions.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point. Phil or Connor.
Sure, I can go. So what do I contribute? Do.
Okay, well, if you don't know, I'll just go.
I'm kidding.
Yeah,
That was a comedic pause.
Next question, please.
Basically, Error.
404.
Basically, my contribution to society at the moment is in the retirement sector of work. Um, I won't get into the specifics of what I do, but essentially, I've been told and reassured by many people that what I am doing now and what I continue to do to be my calling. So I find comfort in that, and I'm very content with uh, what my value is right now, and I just expect that to continue as time goes on and as I find my way through the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, if people are saying that, you're on the right path.
Mhm.
All right,
I was
Connor.
gonna say something similar, like taking up a leadership role, helping new people into kind of the sector of business that I'm in. I mean, I was there at one point as well, pretty recently actually, but just learning and helping people become the best versions of themselves and help them, on a professional from a professional standpoint, how to, achieve what they want to achieve and get to their end goal as soon as possible, so they can hit their goal and make a new one. I think that's a big thing for me. Other things like outside of that is just trying to help people live the best life they can. I know everyone thinks they have the hardest life in the world, so how can I help others to make that a little bit easier? And then from that, I just find joy in supporting people and helping them be a better version of themselves, or help them get to somewhere that they're like, okay, like I'm in a good place now. So those are things that I kind of look forward to help people with as well.
Nice. Okay. There's a lot of questions here.
Let's do rapid 2 round here.
Rapid. What do you mean? Like 2 questions you just answer super, super quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh boy. Let me just. Is humanity headed in the right or wrong direction? I think a lot of our episodes have touched on this.
I mean,
One word answer, right or wrong? Right or wrong?
right,
think-
I say we're heading in. It's hard to see it like in the future, but I think we're heading in an okay direction.
I think people will know my answer if you've listened to our whole catalog of episodes. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say wrong, not by a huge margin, but wrong by a slight margin.
I agree with Cam.
I would say wrong without any intervention of some sort.
I
Okay,
think
okay.
I think the reason I say we're heading in the right direction is because if you look at the cycles of time, eventually everything crumbles and rebuilds back stronger than before. So
If you look
even
at it that way, yeah, then
Yeah,
Yeah.
Connor, I would
For
agree
sure,
with you
for
from that,
sure.
but I'm talking purely as of in the last 10 to 20 years, I feel we are in a lot of ways heading in the wrong direction.
Okay, okay, this was supposed to be rapid fire. This is supposed to be
Let's
rapid
go.
fire. Okay, here's the next one. There's a multiple choice basically. Is it more important to help yourself, your family, society, or the world? One word, one of those choices. I'm gonna say, your. Oh, this is tough. I'm gonna say it's more important to help yourself because you
why
can then
can't,
affect everything else. Okay,
I was gonna
next.
say, why can't you do all?
You have to pick one. You have to pick one. But my answer is the one affects the all, but that's kind of a cop out.
I was gonna say I agree with that. Like if I can help others, that in turn will help myself. I'm gonna flip it on you. I think
Oh, interesting.
if I help others, then people are gonna remember that, and that's gonna help me down the road.
Hmm. I
Okay,
just think you
but
have to build from the ground up. But okay, Phil, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say to avoid the cop out, family.
Okay, nice.
I'm going with self as well.
Okay, nice. Um, what kind of question is this? How replaceable are you?
Oh gosh.
How much are you worthless? No.
Well,
Um,
You're disconnected.
uh, okay. There's some interesting. Let me go down to the questions about the universe section. Oh God. These are just What in life is truly interesting. Okay, what in life is truly objective and not
Mm.
subjective? If you
Mm.
can name one
Nothing.
thing. Okay.
I think everything. It's like the yin and yang, right? There's good in everything that's bad. And there's bad in everything that's good. I think the whole like, I don't see black and white and everything. I think everything is gray.
Mhm.
Water is wet.
Nice.
Whoa, Phil, that's crazy talk.
I remember
disagree.
that reminds me of this one quote from Max of Wizards of Waverly Place, which is, what is it? He was like, "Oh, if the whole world is underwater, is anything really wet?" Boom, mind blown.
You know what? But I don't really believe that. I think if you're fully submerged, you're not wet. But who cares?
I think we can probably agree that math is objective. It's logical.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I would
it's all
say like
theoretical, right? It's not. Math is all theoretical.
No.
I think there's probably
Not all math is theoretical.
I think this is going to be controversial, and perhaps I probably don't have the authority to make this statement, but I think there is an objective morality out there. Not that we've grasped it all, not that we're even capable of identifying it all necessarily, but I think there is a such thing as objective morality. Okay, that's an entire episode we can get into later. What do you think is more likely? I don't know. Why are humans so susceptible to magical thinking? That's kind of an interesting question.
Delusions of grandeur.
Like why do we have like supernatural? Why are we so fascinated by the supernatural and or the divine or the
I think it's for a lot of human beings their attempt to try and be so a lot of human beings are inherently ignorant and arrogant, but I think there's also an equal amount of human beings that try to be as, I don't know how what the right inflection on this is, but at the least arrogant or the least ignorant possible, and that comes to fruition in believing in things like supernatural creatures, because it kind of makes the world feel bigger, right? It makes it feel a little bit more magical, and for some people it might make the world feel a little bit more meaningful.
I think it just speaks to how creative human beings are. Like we've come up with some amazing stuff. Like if you're an atheist, for example, just to look at religions as like fiction, like that's some good fiction, you know?
Some damn good fiction.
And not to mention Lord of the Rings and stuff. So like so the creativity of human beings is just spectacular.
Dune being
I think
one of them.
aside from the creativity standpoint, I think it's kind of the attempt to explain something that we don't understand.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to allude to.
I was gonna
Just
say
kind
it's
of
like
like,
I
yeah.
was just thinking it's like a grasp towards divinity, right? Like, you know, you could attest some of God's or whatever, whoever prophets like abilities or feats to things of magic and that kind of like supernatural. So I think that's what draws a lot of people is like, well, if this thing does exist, like it opens the door to everything.
Yeah. Okay, we should probably cut it off here.
I think we're gonna leave the question period there, but I think we got a couple words before we leave you on this episode.
We do. So this is episode 30. We figured this would be a good place to end it, but not for all time. Oh no.
Stay tuned.
This is merely the end of season 1. So from episode 1 to 30, season 1, only in the form of audio podcasts. So we're going to be taking a break before we come back with season 2 shortly. It won't be too far away. So you don't have to, if you get withdrawals, just, not to worry. We'll be back soon enough. So
Keep an eye on our socials.
Yeah, keep an eye on our social media. Definitely. We're going to be back with a lot of new stuff, including video. So you'll be seeing our faces now, which might be a good or bad thing. I don't know. Maybe you'll want to run for the hills and never listen to us again, but hopefully not. So this time off, we're just going to be reflecting on, what we did right in season 1, what we did wrong, what we can improve on. We're going to be building a little tiny studio in my basement, hopefully. And just, yeah, figuring out a content plan for season 2. I think I speak for everyone when
Don't worry,
I
guys.
say we
Cam's
want to
not
be.
holding us- I was gonna say,
What?
don't worry, guys. Cam's not holding us against his will in his basement.
No, it's a studio. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are those shackles on the walls? Anyway,
Uh,
What are those whips for?
yeah, no. But I think I speak for everyone when I say we want to continue to evolve. We want to continue to get better. So in this time off, I think we'll all be reflecting on season 1. I think we did a lot right, but obviously we can always continue to improve. So that being said, our DMs are always open. If anyone listening now has any suggestions, I think we're all more than happy to hear it. The other thing is, we also have to give a massive shout out to everybody that tuned in, whether it was once, twice, or every single episode from this first season. This podcast, started as just a random idea, like, hey, we talk a lot, or at least I talk a lot about stuff, let's record it. And I think throughout it, we've started to build an identity. We've built a small following, and I personally am extremely appreciative for everyone who tunes in twice a week to listen to us, or however often you do. So thank you. We've reached almost 1,500 listens across this first season. So we've got to every continent on the globe so far, which is just, it's really great to see. So thank you so much. I can't say it enough. And we're really excited to come back with better content in season 2. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'll say one last thing, which is, and Phil alluded to it at the beginning, which is, we never really discussed the purpose of this podcast, but to me, it's just that which is essential to life, which is talking, and just having conversations with people. And we're good friends and we've known each other for the longest time, but it's still important to A, spend time with friends, and B, talk about anything really.
I think I was gonna
It's-
say, I think I learned something every time, at least one thing or two things, at
Mhm.
least every
Oh, for
episode.
sure.
Yeah, like talking things out, it makes you grow, it makes you learn. And it just, I want to show people that, like, you should be encouraged to talk about things, even if you don't have an expertise in them, right? Even if you're not an expert at X, Y, or Z, don't feel ashamed about that. Don't feel like you're dumb. Your opinion might still be worthwhile. What your input on something might be really beneficial. It might change the way someone else thinks,
Mhm.
So I think that's really the point of this. And yeah, if we can provide some entertainment, a little bit of education, a little bit of humor throughout the way, then I think that will be a job done for us. So again,
Yeah, I
thank
just
you so
want,
much.
I just wanted to say really quick, this has been really, really fun doing this with like some of my closest friends that I've ever had. And I've never been one to been afraid to share my opinion, but this experience working on this podcast has definitely taught me new ways to express my opinion, and it's really reinforced the idea to not be afraid to express my opinion, even though sometimes my opinions might be way out of whack or stupid, or I say the stupidest shit. Like, I got caught by these three for saying some stupid shit today, and I'm glad they called me out on it. And I think that's what this has really done for me personally, is make sure that what I'm saying is factual and completely well thought out.
Yeah. And so I think we're gonna be really excited for the next season, or the next installment of Beyond the Borderline, when we come back to you guys with better, more improved content, video stuff, new ideas, new talking points, all that good stuff. So
And guests as well.
Yeah.
More
Yes.
guests, more people,
Yes.
more
More
faces
guests.
to look at.
More
Yep.
input. Yeah, I think it's gonna be really great. And I hope we can nail, there's a certain aesthetic that I have in mind that I know Phil and I share, that we're gonna
Yes.
hopefully bring to you
Yeah.
in terms of the visuals. And yeah, I think it's just gonna be really good. And yeah, there's not much more to say. We don't want to draw this out too much, but
Yeah.
I think, again, thank you. And Phil, yeah, what do you have to say?
I just want to thank all of the everything. Thank all of the fan base. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak to you guys and to bring this to a larger audience. We only expect great things from all of us. Um, it feels great to kind of promote the conversations that we may have already had in the past, just in an entertaining way, and I'm really grateful for that.
Sweet. Okay, well, I think we'll wrap it up. So this is officially, as I'm saying these words, the end of Beyond the Borderline season 1. We will be back. We will be back with a vengeance. We will be back with content and topics, and it'll be fun. It'll be really fun. So yeah, stay tuned. I hope you have a wonderful next few weeks, and we'll hear from you soon.
And as always, take care, brush your hair.